Hello, I'm Sergejs, and in this tutorial I will show the high-end version of the individual HRTF binauralization that was demonstrated in the previous video. This setup also allows to use your individual HRTF to listen to any music, videos and other content on a PC in up to 7.1 channel surround with optional head tracking and VST effects. The key difference is this method requires RME interface with TotalMix FX software. The advantages: the lowest possible latency, minimal CPU usage, maximum stability, and high-quality headphone output if a recent Fireface or Babyface model is used. For older supported RME interfaces or the Digiface series, it is possible to route headphone output to another DAC in case standard headphone output is not satisfactory. Unfortunately, there are no budget RME products, so this solution is not cheap. I will also direct you towards my previous video about all the details how to install VSTHost and how to configure binauralizer that actually applies your SOFA HRTF. The key difference for RME interface users: there is no need to install Voicemeeter or any other virtual sound card. So let's start by opening the Windows sound settings. What we want to do is we want to go and select our RME default device. In my case, I have Babyface Pro connected, so set it as a default device and go into configure, and you can see that RME driver for ASIO interface allows you to select 7.1 surround as your output format. I wish more ASIO interfaces would do that. We will also go into properties and make sure that we do not have spatial audio selected, and under enhancements we also have nothing here. Our sampling rate 24-bit 48 kHz is pretty optimal, so we go OK, and we will leave this window open. Now the next thing is, let's check the driver quickly. In the driver we will set the buffer size to 128 samples. The reason we use 128 samples is because we are using Sparta binauralizer within VSTHost, and Sparta binauralizer can work with 128 samples or multiples of 128 samples. It cannot use smaller buffers than that. If you will be using a newer version or a different VST plugin which can go to smaller buffers, you can choose, as you can see, even smaller values for smaller latency. Sample rate is good, and the rest seems to be okay. Let's open the TotalMix FX, and here our job is to route the 7.1 channels so that they are being looped through the internal ASIO loopback into the VSTHost, where the 8 channels are going to be binauralized into 2 channels and sent out to the headphone output of the RME interface. Right now we are looking at the completely default RME routing. And let's look, where do 7.1 surround channels go? We press on test and see left, right, center, subwoofer, rear surrounds, and side surrounds. Perfectly correct mapping for Windows. So we know that the inputs from the software are gonna arrive at these 4 stereo channels. Now we need to loop them into the loopback, but there is a bit of an issue here with the mapping, which we're gonna solve in a moment. So to begin with, we're gonna do like this. We click on the main and remove the routing of all software playback channels away from it, except for ADAT 7 and 8. We're gonna use that as a result of our loopback. We will also look at this hardware output and remove it. You can actually keep it enabled, it doesn't matter, but to make it prettier we will remove it as well. And now comes the interesting part. we're going to go to the first ADAT 1 and 2 channel and remove a default one and instead open it to the first channel where the 7.1 surround comes in. And do the same for the next one. Remove a default, open to the second one. We go to the third one, remove a basic one and open to the third one. And go to the fourth one, again remove a default and add the fourth one. So this should be it, except we need to also enable loop back, and we do it by clicking on this icon and pressing loop back for every channel which we want to use. So I just activated loop back for 8 channels altogether. And I'm going to minimize this. And I would say TotalMix right now is configured. Let's see, when I press test, where do we have the channels coming? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. It doesn't appear anywhere else, it only appears here. We're gonna go store mix 1, so I just saved this configuration. Now we go to the VSTHost and configure it to actually use RME's ASIO interface. We go to the wave, and on the output port we select ASIO Fireface USB. Sample rate should be 48 and buffer should match whatever was in the driver selected. So we press OK, and now we want to assign channel selection. I already have been playing here before, but it will probably look like this in the beginning. You uncheck load all and select your ADATs, the 4 stereo ADAT pairs, and for output select only ADAT 7 and 8. If you remember, if we click on main, that's the only one we are routing to the main, and that's the one where the software playback nothing comes in, so we can use that as our resulting mix. So we press OK and see what's going on. We press left and we see that when I press the left channel test, we have binauralized output here. Center, equal loudness on left and right. And if we take, for example, side right, everything maps out. So that's it, the whole configuration to run complete ASIO loopback through VSTHost using just RME interface and nothing else. One final thing is we can look at the matrix view, and in the matrix view you can see that we send to the main output only our ADAT 7 and 8, while everything else is routed like this. All other mappings are free for you to use for other purposes. And of course, in TotalMix, you can save various snapshots. So when you are not using your binauralization, you can just use another config for any other use case. There will still be some latency because VST plugins take some time to process, but on the sound card, the interface side, we have reduced latency to the absolute minimum. I hope we will find more hardware solutions with similar support for both 7.1 surround output from Windows and multi-channel ASIO loopback. But for now, RME users can add one more argument why their RME hardware is worth the premium price tag. Have a great day!